Now, all the problems that we've looked at so far, it's been relatively easy to take the words and turn them into an appropriate mathematical operation, which we could then perform to come up with an answer to the question that we were given in words. Now, this doesn't work as easily for all of the questions that you might get. And your study guide talks about a method, which is a guess, check and refine method to find the answer for more complex problems, where you may look for patterns, perhaps even draw diagrams. Now, this is really a trial and error method, and I'm very happy for you to use it if you are able to follow it in the study guide. I'm going to show you a way of solving these kinds of problems depending on using the algebra that we studied in topic 7. Now, the first example of one of these problems is we have two numbers that are added together to give 120, and the difference between the two numbers is 8. What are the two numbers? Well, there's a guess, check and refine trial and error method there for you to use if you prefer. But let's have a look at how we can perhaps do this a little more systematically. So let's just remember what we were told. The two numbers add up to 120 and their difference is 8. So, let's say we don't know what the numbers are, so we'll call the first number is x. The second number, well, we were told it differed from the first number by 8. So let's call it x minus 8. We're also told that the two numbers added up to give 120. The sum of the two numbers was 120. So that means when we take x, the first number, and add the second number, x minus 8, that gives us 120. Now what's x plus x? It's two lots of x. We can write that as 2 times x minus 8 equals 120. Now in algebra we generally don't write the multiply sign, we write it as x just 2x minus 8 equals 120. Okay, now we still don't know what the numbers are, but we've now got an algebraic equation. It's an equation because it has an equal sign, which has a left-hand side and a right-hand side that are balanced so that the left-hand side is exactly equal to the right-hand side. Now I'm going to do a couple of things to the left-hand side to get x on its own. You can see we're multiplying x by 2 and subtracting 8 from it. So the first thing I'm going to do on both sides of the equation, I'm going to undo subtract 8 on the left-hand side and the right-hand side by adding 8 to both sides, so that the left-hand side becomes 2x minus 8 plus 8 equals 120 plus 8. I've done exactly the same thing to both sides of the equation. I've added 8 And the reason I've added 8 is that on the left-hand side, if I add 8 to minus 8, I get 0. So the left-hand side becomes 2x equals 120 plus 8 is 128. So it still balances. Left-hand side is still equal to the right-hand side. So now, what am I doing to x? I am multiplying it by 2. Can I undo multiply by 2? What's the inverse operation to multiplication? It's division. So if I now divide both sides by 2, okay, so now dividing both sides by 2, 2x divided by 2 equals 128 divided by 2. I've done exactly the same thing to both sides of the equation, so that means the equal sign is still balanced. Now I can cancel out here. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 2 once, and 128 divided by 2 is 64. So I'm left with x, there is x all on its own, is equal to 64. So what does that tell me? That says that my first number is 64. Now my second number was x minus 8. So substituting in 64 for x, that's going to be 64 minus 8, 56. So my two numbers are 64 and 56. Okay, I've got an answer. Is it the correct answer? Well, I can only check by seeing that the difference between the two numbers is 8. So let's do our check. We'll choose a different colour again. Let's choose a nice pale blue. Check the difference between the two numbers. So it's 1, subtract the other one. Yes, that's 8. And the other condition was the two numbers added together had to equal 120. Yes, they do. That means my answer there should be correct. Now let's just go back and have a look at the guess, check and refine answer, remembering we had 64 and 56. And you can see they've got exactly the same thing here. (64 and 56).